Good evening, everyone. So, in the morning session, we discuss about the one of the important concept to call generic concept here. Okay, we identify the different example like how we can write the class, constructor, method, as well as the interfaces with help of this particular generic here. Okay, so today we'll discuss about the another important concept to call lambda here. So now what we need to understand, so this is the new functionality which is implemented inside this particular 1.8 onwards. Okay, now what we need to understand, the generic concept is added in the 1.5, and one of the important concept that is called lambda is added inside the 1.8 version here. Okay, so this is we need to understand very carefully. So how this particular lambda is going to work, and this is the new keyword, like new syntax is introduced inside this particular 1.8 here. Okay, and the new syntax basically it will try to increase the functionality, like getting the point. It will try to increase the expressive, the power of this particular language. So we can understand here it's going to increase the power of our Java language. They introduce one keyword called Lambda expression. So the Lambda expressions how we are going to write. So today we'll discuss about the another important example here. Basically, so understand this particular Lambda, we need to understand the one of the functional interface first. Getting the point. So Lambda expression internally, it is going to work on the functional interface. So to identify the Lambda information, first we need to understand the what exactly the functional interface do and what exactly internally the functional interface what it will do. Okay. So this is the information we need to understand regarding this particular Lambda here. So basically, Lambda is nothing but it is an anonymous method. So anonymous method is nothing but the method does not contain any name here. Getting the point? So we'll try to write the anonymous class. Same way, we'll try to define the anonymous method. The anonymous method, we are going to call it as a lambda expressions here. So the anonymous method internally, it will look up the one of the important concept called functional interface. So based on this particular functional interface, it will try to work on the based on the functional interface parameters whatever we are going to write here. Okay, now we'll write the simple example. So to understand the functional interface, runnable is one of the functional interface here. So if I'm going to open, let's see, we discuss all about the runnable interface here. Now I'm trying to open this particular runnable interface. Now you can see they're making one of the interface like annotation called functional interface. Functional interface basically it is contain only one of the abstract method. Only one abstract method it will contain here. Getting the point. This is important we need to understand. The functional interface internally, it will contain only one abstract method. And if the abstract method will take any parameter, so based on the parameter internally, Lambda is going to provide the parameter. So here, what we need to understand, Lambda parameters and functional interface parameters should match. Okay. So whatever the Lambda we are going to define, okay, these parameters and for example, I'm trying to provide so three parameters. So this parameter, three parameters should match with our functional interface here. Okay, so these three parameters should match with our functional interface. So this is one of the important example we need to understand here. Getting the point. This is the one of the important example we need to understand. Lambda parameters as well as our functional parameters should match. Okay, so we identified lambda internally, it is going to work based upon this particular functional interface. And here, what we need to understand regarding this particular lambda, so this section we'll call it as a parameters, and this is the new keyword, like the keyword we introduced, something like arrow operator, and this is we'll call it as a body. Okay, this section we'll call it as a parameters, and this is the operator. It is going to differentiate the parameters and body, and this is we'll call it as a lambda body. Okay, so this lambda body will contain so multiple lines if I'm going to write, or single line we can write. So we'll discuss about the multiple lines and a single line, but here parameters important. So just now I discussed about this particular parameter. It is going to match based upon the functional interface parameters. Okay, functional interface parameter. So for example, the simple example, now I'm not providing any parameter. the arrow operator I'm going to use, and here I'm trying to return something like double value. I'm trying to return something like a double value. So observe carefully, 123.45 we are having, and this is basically one lambda parameter. So here lambda parameters is not taking any parameters here, but here finally we are trying to return 123.45. This is nothing but body, the lambda body. From the lambda body we are trying to return this particular value here. Okay, so one more, how exactly? So if I'm going to write this particular lambda information, now how this particular method will contain internally. So the simple method I'm trying to write here, I'm trying to write a return type as a double, something like method 1. Okay, so something like now what I'm doing here I'm trying to write this particular method, and here now what I'm doing here, simply I'm trying to return 123.45. Okay, so whatever we discuss here, this is the functional interface formality. Like this is the implementation of this particular functional interface, and this is exactly it is going to work the lambda. Now you can see we are trying to return 12345. Okay, the method is not taking any parameter. Now you can see this is the method we defined. This method also is not taking any parameter, and the return type what we are making, double we are making, and it is trying to return the 123.45. Getting the point? So instead of writing this particular functional interface method, simply I'm trying to write with lambda. This is the way of writing this particular lambda here. Okay, this is one of the important example we are discussing here. So simply we are not going to write any parameter, just simply I'm trying to return 123.45. Okay, this lambda is trying to return this value. So now we identified how it is going to work. And another important, now you can see again one more lambda, it is not taking any parameter, but here now I'm trying to call one math class. So we discussed this particular math class in the previous example. So math dot random, and using this particular random method I'm trying to multiply the 100 value. Okay, so this is the simple lambda we are defining, and this is the one more. Now this particular lambda, now it is returning math dot random value. First we are calling the random value. From the random value I'm trying to multiply with 100. So here simply we are trying to returning 123.45. 123.45. Okay, so this is one of the important example we need to understand here. Okay, so now what we will do, we are not going to do with help of this particular return type. So just simply we'll write this particular statement, it will try to return internally. Now if I'm going to pass variable, now this is the one more lambda I'm defining. This one is expecting one parameter, the parameter I'm trying to pass as a n. Okay, now what I'm doing here I'm trying to using the module operator. This is we are going to call it as a module operator. So this we discuss in the module operator in the earlier example whenever we are trying to discussing about the arithmetic operators. Now you can see I'm doing the module operator, and the remainder if it is equals to 0, it will return true or false. Okay, it's something like a boolean value it is written, and this is returning something like a integer value. Okay, and it is returning double value. Now observe carefully, these are all the three lambdas we define. So now this lambda is not going to take any parameter. So this also is not taking any parameter, and this one it is taking one parameter. So based on the parameter, now what we are doing here, we are trying to multiply, like we are trying to use the division operation, like we can call it as a module operator. So this particular module operator, if it is written 0, we are trying to compare with this particular 0. So if it is match here, we'll try to return true. Otherwise, we are trying to returning false here. Okay, so this is very important example we need to understand regarding this particular lambdas here. Now internally, how it is working these three are how it is working. So internally, it is going to work based on this particular functional interface. Okay, so I will explain one simple example so that we can easily understand how this particular lambda is going to work internally. Okay, So let me write the simple example on this particular lambda. So to define this particular lambda, first what we need a functional interface first. Okay, we need one of the important concept called functional interface. So inside this same annotation only, I'm trying to write the one of the functional interface, something like functional interface. Basically, it will contain only one and only one abstract method. Only one abstract method. We can write the any number of default method. Okay, any number of default method we can write, but only one abstract method we are going to write. The functional interface, something like my number. Okay, so this is the interface I need to write, but I define as a class. Now I'm trying to change with the interface. Okay, now I modify to interface. After modifying this, now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to write the method here. Double, okay, double get value. Getting the point. So this is important. We need to understand double get value. So what we are doing this particular get value. Okay, what we are doing recording this particular get value. So this is important. We need to understand here. This particular method. Now, this particular method, what is doing internally? It is trying to return the double type, and this method does not contain any body because it is a abstract method. But this method, how it is going to implement it here? How it is going to implement it? Now I'm trying to write the one class lambda demo. Okay, inside this particular lambda demo, I'm trying to print as a main method. Now after this, what I'm doing is I'm trying to define the lambdas here. So how I'm trying to defining lambda? Now observe carefully. First I'm trying to write the interface reference. Okay, whatever the interface reference we are having, I'm trying to print. After this, something like num I'm trying to define. And here, now you can see what I'm doing is, here I'm going to write the same, whatever I explained earlier. Whatever I explained earlier, this is the simple lambda. Now you can see it is not taking any parameters. The left side basically parameters, and the right side is the lambda body. Okay, right side is a lambda body, left side is a parameter section. So this is important. We need to understand. After this, now what I'm doing is I'm going to provide this particular value. So now you can see num dot get, sorry, not get class. We need to call the get value method. So this method I'm going to call. Okay. Observe carefully. Now what I'm doing is, now observe if I'm going to print these statements. If I'm going to print this, here I'm trying to add a string with this particular number, whatever we are going to get here. Okay, so it is a fixed number because it is not going to modify here. Now if you observe carefully, it is not going to modify. But another important section, what we need to understand, where this number, like this particular get value method is implemented. Now if you see, here we are defining, okay, so just we are defining this particular method does not contain any body here. Getting the point? This is we discussed in the previous example. So this is the name of the interface. We are defining only one method. By default, it is a public and abstract here. Okay. Now, if we make as a abstract here, the method should be implemented in some of the classes here. But if you see, here I'm not implementing any method. Again, without implementing this particular method, I'm calling. Okay. Without implementing this particular method, now I'm calling this example here. Now I'm calling this particular example. So now you can see what I'm doing is num dot get value. Num dot get value. Okay. So whenever I'm calling, now what we need to understand here, we are going to get to whatever the value we are returning. What is the value we are getting? 123.45. So this particular value, now it is printed by this particular method. But how this method is implemented? This method is implemented inside this particular lambda. Lambda basically it is a anonymous method. The Lambda does not contain any name here. So if we are not going to contain the name, the section will call it as a anonymous here. Okay, the particular section will call it as a anonymous. Okay, so the simple example we are implementing it. So it is not going to take any parameter, and this is returning lambda body 12345. 123.45. It is trying to return this particular lambda body. Okay, and another important what we need to understand here. If you see here, I'm going to copy this. Okay, after this statement, I'm going to write this. Here I'm going to make as a num1. And here, what I'm doing is, I'm trying to make as a string here. Here, I'm trying to make as a string. Now, if you observe carefully, here I'm trying to get this particular error. If you observe carefully, here I'm trying to get this particular error. Now, why I'm getting this particular error? So now you can see, we'll get to understand. Type of mismatch cannot convert from string to double. How the compiler understand here? Getting the point. How this particular compiler now understanding. So where we define this particular double here. So mismatch cannot convert string to double. How that is identifying the, so we need to return the double here. Because what is the reference we are making here? The reference we are making here, interface reference here. Whenever we are making this particular interface reference here, whenever we are calling the particular method, the method is going to implement it like this. The particular method now at runtime, the particular method is going to implement it like this here. So the particular information only we are calling lambda. Because of that, we are calling as a anonymous method. Anonymous method. So lambda basically it is a anonymous method here because it does not contain any name. At runtime, the lambda is going to create it. So here, based on this particular value, whatever the get method we are writing it. So basically, this particular get method, it should be override. Now, for example, here I'm going to write the method. How the method it should like here. So starting, what we need to understand here, something like a double I'm going to write here, and the name of the method, get value. It is not expecting any parameter, and finally we'll return like this. Return 123.45. Okay, 123.45. So now you can see, so this particular section of code, this entire section of code is implemented by the lambda. This is okay. This is important. We need to understand. So whatever we are writing here, everything the lambda will take care of the implementation of the method, because lambda internally it is going to work on the functional interface. Functional interface is nothing but it will contain only one and only one abstract method. For example, if I'm trying to write the default method, default something like void f method. F method is nothing but functional method here. Okay, and here I'm going to write this. I'm going to write default method. Now what we can do here, I'm trying to defining the default method. The particular default method I'm going to call here. So let me comment out this. And now what I'm doing here I'm going to call num dot f method. Okay, using this particular interface, we are calling the default method. So now you can see it is returning from the lambda. Second one, it is calling from the default method. But how many abstract method we can write? Only one abstract method. For example, if I'm going to write AB method. So AB method is nothing but abstract method. Okay, whenever I'm defining this, now we are getting an error. Getting the point. Whenever you're trying to define this particular method, now you are getting an error. Now you can see what happening internally. The target type is expression must be a functional interface. Okay, whatever the error we are getting, if you read this, the target, whatever the target we are providing, it should be a functional interface. Getting the point. It should be a functional interface. But now what we are doing is, we are making multiple methods here. So now you can see, we can write the default method, but only but only abstract method should be only 1 here. Still it is happening, or so the voice is like breaking multiple times, so only 1-2 times, like how it is happening? Could you please suggest me? Okay, so I think you need to enable your audio is disconnected. You need to enable your audio, so then you can easily understand here. Let me write your audio. Okay, now observe carefully. We need to write only one and only one abstract method here. So if you are trying to write here multiple abstract method, what happening internally? It is trying to give an error. Okay, it is trying to give an error here. So now you can see the error is resolved here. This is one of the important example we are discussing here. Getting the point. This is one of the important example. So using this, first we identify it should return only abstract method, and it is trying to return the return value something like a double. Now if I'm trying to return the string, it is giving me an error. Okay, so this is we need to understand carefully. This is we need to understand very carefully. Now if you see, now if you observe carefully, something I'm trying to return one more example. Okay, after calling this particular default method, so now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to call the one more example. This, it is not going to take any parameter, and here whatever we discuss here, now I'm calling the math.random method. Okay, so math.random method, it is not calling it. Now I will modify, like I'm going to add the reference variable like this. So whenever I'm adding this particular reference variable, now we can easily understand here math.random method. Now whenever I'm trying to call this particular random method, internally it is trying to return the double value, and this particular value I'm trying to multiply with this particular 100. Okay, so finally it is trying to return the num1 dot get value. Num1 dot get value. So this is the another lambda we are defining. This is the another lambda we are defining. Now observe carefully. So this is something like after multiplying this particular value we are getting. If I'm trying to remove this, because it is a random number, it is a random number, we are going to get multiple number for the multiple times. So how many times you are trying to run, we'll get the multiple numbers. Now you can see we are getting 0 dot. See 0 dot to 32833. If I'm going to run one more time, now we are getting 0.06. Now if I'm trying to run one more time, now 0.1297. Okay, so how many times you're trying to run? Every time the number is getting as a different because of this particular random. Now we discuss this particular random method. Then now if I'm going to call this internally, you can observe carefully random number generator. So random number generator. So this is the one random class we discussed in the earlier example. Now you can see random class we are creating it with help of this particular random class. Now we are calling the method called next double. Okay, this is the example we discussed in the earlier, the random class example. Same thing I'm trying to use here inside the lambda. So this will call it as a lambda body. Getting the point? So this section, getting the point? This section we'll call it as a parameters. Okay, so after this particular arrow, we'll call it as a body, lambda body. Okay, we'll write like lambda body. Okay, this is we need to understand very carefully. Now what you understand here, the random method is trying to return the double value, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever we given, this also returning random value. Now we identify the simple example on this particular lambda. how it is working internally. Okay, now I'm going to write one more method so that we can easily understand the simple example. First, what we need to write here, we need to write the functional interface first. First, we need to write the functional interface. Later, we need to define the lambda. Now, this particular method is going to expect one parameter. So, numeric test here. Okay. So, one of the interface I'm defining numeric test here, and this particular numeric tester, it is trying to returning Boolean type. Okay. So, test method I'm defining, and it is expecting one parameter. It is expecting one parameter. Now observe carefully. So this is the one of the functional interface. How we are calling this is the one functional interface? Here we are trying to defining the one method. Okay, this method does not have any body. This particular method does not have any body, and this is the functional interface. Now what I will do here, I'm going to write inside this particular lambda demo. I'm going to comment out this section. So far the simple example we identified lambda. Now I'm trying to write the another important here. So now you can see numeric test I'm defining something like nm or nt. Nt is nothing but numeric test here. So after this, I cannot write like this. Now if you observe carefully, because the numeric test method, it is internally, it is expecting one parameter. Okay, it is expecting one parameter. So if it is expecting one parameter, now what we can write? Here you can define the n. So you can define the n, and after this, now what I'm doing here, n, this is the module operator I'm using here. After using this particular module operator, what I'm doing here, I'm trying to write, I'm trying to divide with the 2 here. So once I divide with this particular number as a 2, and if it is equals to 0, what happens internally? We'll get the Boolean result here. Okay, we'll get the Boolean result. For example, if I'm trying to modify to int, so instead of this particular Boolean, if I'm going to modify to int, now you'll see you are getting an error here. Okay, the lambda body, now we are getting an error. Why we are getting an error? So we discuss here single equals, it will try to initialize the value right side to left side. But double equal, what it will do? It will compare the both values here. It will compare the both values. So whenever the values are same, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return the false here. Okay, this is important information we need to understand here. Getting the point. So this will return the true if the both values are same. Otherwise, it will return the false. And now what you understand, it is expecting to return the Boolean value. But explicitly, what we did here, we made as a integer value. Because of that, now we are getting an error here. Now you can see I am getting an error. So this is important. But where it is depending on the functional interface type. So this is the functional interface type. It is depending here. Now what you understand? Whatever the lambda we are defining, the lambda internally, it is going to work on the functional interface, the method. Now if you see, if I'm going to provide n comma t, now I'm getting an error. Why I'm getting an error? Because the functional interface method is expecting only one parameter. The interface, if it is expecting only one parameter, now what we need to understand here? So we should provide only one parameter. Now you can see lambda expression signature does not match the signature of the functional interface. Now what you understand here? Whatever the lambda we are passing here, it is not matching with our functional interface method. What is the method we are having? Something like functional interface method called test. The test is expecting only one parameter, but right now we are passing two parameters. Okay, so this is one of the important example we need to understand. Now I made this. Now whenever I'm going to call the test method internally, nt dot test method, I'm going to provide as a 10 here. I'm going to provide as a 10 here. Now what you need to understand here? You can make the condition because it is trying to return the value. Okay, it is trying to return the value. So now what is the value it will return? It will return the Boolean value. So if it is return the Boolean value, Now what we can write here? 10 is a, whatever the 10 we are providing, 10 is even number. Okay. So otherwise, now what we can do? Getting the point. 10 is a even number. If the condition is not matched here, what we can do? We can write the else statement. So else statement, simple message, 10 is not a even number. 10 is not a even number. Okay. So this is, we need to understand very carefully. Now I'm going to run this example. First we'll see which method we are getting, like which output we are getting. 10 is a even number. How we are identifying it? Because of this particular module operator. What it will do? So it is trying to multiply with these two. It is trying to divide, not multiply. It is trying to divide this particular two. Now what happens internally? So you are going to get the 0. This particular remainder 0. Now what happening internally? The n modulo of 2. N modulo of 2. N value how much we are giving? 10 we are giving. Where we are giving? Here. Whenever we are calling this particular 10, the test method, so we are passing the value. Whenever we are passing the particular value, now this will work internally 10 modulo of 2. Okay. What is the 10 modulo of 2 we are getting? 0. So 0 equals to 0. So now both the values are same. When the both values are same, what happening internally lambda? This particular lambda, now it is returning true value. Now it is returning true. Because of this, getting the point. Because of this line number 16 statement is executing. Now you can see 10 is even. So this is the message it is trying to print on our console. Okay. Another example I'm trying to write here. The another example here. So I will copy this too. And here I'm going to make as a 9 here. I'm making 9 here. Whenever I'm making 9, now you can see what happening internally. Getting the point. This is important here. 9 is not a even number. Okay. So why we are getting the else statement here? So because this else statement is printing. Why it is printing the else statement here? What we need to understand? Again, we need to write the same diagram. What is the value we are passing? 9. Sorry. Here we need to pass as a 2, and internally we need to pass as a 9. So what we can do? Here we can write here. So 8, finally it is trying to return 1. And 1 equals to 0. Getting the point. 1 equals to 0. Both values are not same here. Okay. Whenever it is not same, what happens internally? It will try to return the false statement here. So when this particular value, so right side value, left side value, when it is returns, like when this right side and left side value will match here, it will try to return the true. Otherwise, it will try to return the false here. It will try to return the false here. So this is one of the important example. We need to understand the lambda here. Now the lambda, it is expecting one parameter. One parameter we provided left side. So this is section we are discussing parameter and arrow operator and body. Okay. This is the simple one. Here we are not writing much lines, only single line statement. Whenever we are writing this particular single line statement here, we can define the current example. This is the single line statement, and this is also a single line statement. And right now, whatever we are defining, this is also single line statement here. Okay. This is the way of writing the one of the important example called lambda example here. So any questions here?
సార్ రిటర్న్ 10 ఈస్ ఈవెన్ ఎలా వచ్చింది సార్ ఒకసారి చెప్తారా సార్?
ఈ 10 అనేది ఎలా వచ్చిందంటే ఫస్ట్ ఇక్కడ నేనేం చేస్తున్నాను, లైన్ నెంబర్ 16 లో ఒక మెథడ్ ని కాల్ చేస్తున్నా. ఏ మెథడ్ ని కాల్ చేస్తున్నా? టెస్ట్ మెథడ్ ని కాల్ చేస్తున్నా. ఎన్టీ అనేది ఏంటి ఇక్కడ బేసిక్ గా? ఎన్టీ అనే ఒక ఇంటర్ఫేస్ టైప్. ఓకే. ఈ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ టైప్ లో ఉన్న మెథడ్ ని కాల్ చేస్తున్నాను. సో ఇదే కదా టెస్ట్ మెథడ్ ఇక్కడ డిఫైన్ చేశాను. ఇది ఓకే, ఈ టెస్ట్ మెథడ్ని కాల్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఓకే, ఇది ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఇక్కడ. సో టైప్ వచ్చేసి న్యూమరిక్ టెస్ట్, మెథడ్ వచ్చేసి టెస్ట్ మెథడ్. సో ఇక్కడ డిఫైన్ చేశాను, ఈ టెస్ట్ మెథడ్ ఇక్కడ డిఫైన్ చేశాను ఈ ఇంటర్ఫేస్లో. నేను ఇక్కడ ఏం చేస్తున్నాను అంటే, ఇక్కడ నేను ఒక ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తాను, ఇంటర్ఫేస్ టైప్ ఇది. ఓకే, ఈ టైప్ నాకు ఎలా వస్తుంది అంటే ల్యాండా ద్వారా వస్తుంది. ఇది ల్యాండా బేసిక్గా. నేను ఏదైతే ఇప్పుడు హైలైట్ చేశానో ల్యాండా ఇది. నా ఈ ల్యాండా ఇక్కడ ఒక పారామీటర్ తీసుకుంటుంది, పారామీటర్ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది ఇక్కడ ఎన్ అనేది. ఎన్ అంటే సంథింగ్ లైక్ 1 పారామీటర్ వాల్యూ. ఏదైనా రెఫరెన్స్ వేరియబుల్ ఏమని పెట్టుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే, నా ఆ పారామీటర్తో నేను ఏం చేస్తున్నాను, బాడీలో నేను డివైడ్ చేస్తున్నాను. సో వచ్చిన రిజల్ట్ 0 అయితే రిటర్న్ ట్రూ చేస్తున్నాను, 0 కాకపోతే ఫాల్స్ రిటర్న్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఓకే, బట్ ఇక్కడ నేనేం చేస్తున్నా అంటే, ఎప్పుడైతే నేను ఈ మెథడ్ని కాల్ చేస్తానో, ఆ టెస్ట్ మెథడ్ని కాల్ చేస్తానో, వాల్యూ ఇచ్చి ఈ 10 వాల్యూ ఈ ఎన్కు స్టోర్ అయిపోతుంది. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ ఏదైతే 10 ఇచ్చానో ఈ 10 అనేది ఈ ఎన్లో స్టోర్ అయిపోతుంది. ఇక్కడ ఎన్ ఎంత, 10 మాడ్యుల్ ఆఫ్ 2. ఓకే, 10 మాడ్యుల్ ఆఫ్ 2 నా ఇంతపై డిస్కస్ చేసాము. విత్ హెల్ప్ ఆఫ్ డివిజన్ ఆపరేషన్ మనకి ఎంత వస్తుంది, 10 మాడ్యుల్ ఆఫ్ 2 0 వస్తుంది. ఇక్కడ నేను దేంతో కంపేర్ చేస్తున్నాను, 0తో కంపేర్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఎప్పుడైతే దీన్ని ఇట్లా 0తో కంపేర్ చేస్తే ఏమవుతుంది, రైట్ సైడ్ అండ్ లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ వాల్యూ సేమ్ ఉంది. ఎప్పుడైతే సేమ్ ఉందో రిటర్న్ ట్రూ చేస్తుంది, లేదు అంటే ఫాల్స్ చేస్తుంది. ఏది ఫాల్స్ చేస్తుంది, ట్రూ ఫాల్స్ ఏం రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది, ల్యాండా రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది. ఇక్కడ ఎందుకు ల్యాండా రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది అంటే ఈ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ రాశాం కాబట్టి. ఓకే, ఈ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ డిఫైన్ చేస్తాను. ఎక్కడ డిఫైన్ చేస్తానంటే ఇక్కడ. ఇది ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఎన్ మాడ్యుల్ ఆఫ్ 2 ఈక్వల్స్ టు 0. ఎప్పుడైతే ద మాడ్యుల్ ఆపరేషన్ రిటర్న్ 0 చేస్తుందో అప్పుడు ట్రూ అవుతుంది. సో 0 చేయలేదు అనుకో అప్పుడు ఫాల్స్ అవుతుంది. సో మనం 10 ఇచ్చాం కాబట్టి ట్రూ అవుతుంది. ఎందుకంటే రెండు వాల్యూ సేమ్, లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ ఉన్న వాల్యూ రైట్ సైడ్ ఉన్న వాల్యూ సేమ్. బట్ సేమ్ ఇప్పుడు నేను 9 ఇచ్చాను అనుకో, సో 9 ఎలా డిఫైన్ చేస్తున్నా అంటే డివిజన్ ఆపరేషన్తో చేయాలి. ఇది ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఇక్కడ. సో నా డివిజన్ ఆపరేషన్ చేయాలి అనుకుంటే, సో ఇంత 2 4 8 అవుతుంది. ఇది ఒక 1 వస్తుంది. రిమైండర్ ఎంత, 1. ఈ 1 ఈజ్ నాట్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు 0. బేసిక్గా ఇటు సైడ్ 0 ఉంటేనే ట్రూ అవుతుంది. బట్ లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ మనకు వచ్చిన వాల్యూ ఎంత, 1. రైట్ సైడ్ వాల్యూ ఎంత, 0. అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, ఈ కండిషన్ ఫెయిల్ అవుతుంది. లైన్ నెంబర్ 19 కండిషన్ ఫెయిల్ అయ్యి సో ఎల్స్ స్టేట్మెంట్కి వస్తుంది. బట్ ఇఫ్ కండిషన్ ఎప్పుడు సాటిస్ఫై అవుతుంది, ట్రూ రిటర్న్ చేస్తే సాటిస్ఫై అవుతుంది. కాబట్టి ఈ కేసులో ట్రూ రిటర్న్ చెయ్యదు. బోత్ వాల్యూస్ ఆర్ నాట్ సేమ్. ఇక్కడ సో 10 అన్న తీసుకున్న దగ్గర రిటర్న్ ట్రూ చేస్తుంది అక్కడ, అందుకంటే రిమైండర్ 0 వచ్చింది. సో దానికోసము 9 అప్పుడు ఎల్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఇస్ ప్రింట్ అయింది. సో 10 అప్పుడు దిస్ పర్టికులర్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఇస్ ప్రింటెడ్. ఓకే, ఇట్స్ క్లియర్. ఇంకేమైనా డౌట్సా? ఓకే, సో నా
స్ట్రింగ్ లో ఒక డౌట్ ఉంది సార్.
చెప్పండి.
కంపారబుల్ చార్జ్ సీక్వెన్స్ అంటే ఏంటి సార్, డిఫరెన్స్ ఏంటి సార్ స్ట్రింగ్ లో?
సో క్యార్ సీక్వెన్స్ మనం ఇంకా డిస్కస్ చేయలేదు, చెప్తాను. కంపారబుల్ అనేది బేసిక్గా అదొక ఇంటర్ఫేస్. ఓకే, కంపారబుల్లో కూడా ఒకే మెథడ్ ఉంది. ఏం మెథడ్ ఉంది, సో ఇప్పుడు చూస్తే సమ్ మెథడ్ పబ్లిక్, ఓకే, ఇంట్ అని ఉంది. పబ్లిక్ ఇంట్ నేమ్, మెథడ్ నేమ్ ఏమి రాసాము, కంపేర్ టు ఇది ఒక ఆబ్జెక్ట్ను అంటే టైప్, ఇక్కడ టైప్తో మనం కంపేర్ చేసాము. సో ఇక్కడ టైప్ T1 ఈ మెథడ్ డిఫైన్ చేసాము. ఓకే, సో జస్ట్ డిక్లేర్ చేసాము. కంపారబుల్ అనే ఒక ఇంటర్ఫేస్లో ఒకే ఒక మెథడ్ ఉంది. అది మెథడ్ ఏంటంటే కంపేర్ టు, అండ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ట్రైంగ్ టు రిటర్న్ ద ఇంట్ వాల్యూ. అండ్ ఇక్కడ టైప్ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది. టైప్ అంటే జనరిక్ టైప్, ఇక్కడ మనం ఏదైనా పాస్ చేయొచ్చు. సో ఏ డేటా టైప్ అయినా మనం పాస్ చేసుకోవచ్చు ఇక్కడ. ఓకే, అది మనం డిస్కస్ చేసాము మార్నింగ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ వరకే. బట్ ఇదేం చేస్తుంది, కంపేర్ టు అనేది బేసిక్గా రెండు వాల్యూస్ని కంపేర్ చేస్తుంది. ఎలా కంపేర్ చేస్తుంది అంటే, ఈ కంపేర్ టు మెథడ్ ఫస్ట్ కరెంట్ వాల్యూతోనే ఇక్కడ ఏదైతే మనం వాల్యూ పాస్ చేస్తున్నామో పారామీటర్ వాల్యూ రెండు కంపేర్ చేస్తుంది. కంపేర్ చేసి అది ఈక్వల్గా ఉందా, గ్రేటర్ దెన్ ఉందా, అండ్ లెస్ దెన్ ఉందా. ఎలా చెప్తుందంటే మైనస్ వాల్యూస్ వచ్చాయనుకో, -1 2 నుంచి సంథింగ్ ఎంత మైనస్ వాల్యూ వచ్చినా అది లెస్ దెన్ వాల్యూ. ఓకే, ప్లస్ వాల్యూస్ వచ్చాయనుకో అంటే గ్రేటర్ దెన్ వాల్యూ. సో ప్లస్ వాల్యూస్ వచ్చిందంటే గ్రేటర్ దెన్, అండ్ ఈక్వల్ వచ్చిందనుకో, ఓకే ఈక్వల్ వచ్చిందనుకో నా అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, రెండు వాల్యూస్ సమానంగా ఉన్నాయి, టూ వాల్యూస్ ఆర్ సేమ్ ఇయర్. సో ఇది ఆ కంపారిటివ్లో ఉన్న ఫంక్షనాలిటీ. ఫస్ట్ మైనస్ వాల్యూ రిటర్న్ చేయొచ్చు, అండ్ ప్లస్ వాల్యూ రిటర్న్ చేయొచ్చు, అండ్ జీరో. సో ఈ మూడిట్లో ఏదో ఒక వాల్యూ కంపారిటివ్ మెథడ్ రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది. సో అందుకని ఆ మెథడ్కి మనం రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఏమి ఇచ్చాము, ఇంట్ ఉంది. ఓకే, సో నేను ఆ మెథడ్ని ఒకసారి ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తాను. ఎక్కడ ఉంది, ఇక్కడ ఉంది. నా ఇక్కడ చూస్తే కంపారబుల్ అనే ఒక జనరిక్ టైప్ డిఫైన్ చేశాను, అండ్ ఇప్పుడు నేను కిందకు వస్తే ఇక్కడ కంపారిటివ్ మెథడ్ ఉంది. ఓకే, ఈ కంపారిటివ్ మెథడ్ టైప్ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది, కానీ రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఏముంది, ఇంట్ ఉంది. ఓకే, సో దీనికోసం ఇక్కడెక్కడ ఉంటుంది ఇది. సో ఇక్కడ చూస్తే ఒకటేమో గ్రేటర్ దెన్, ఒకటి ఈక్వల్, ఇంకోటి లెస్ దెన్ ఎక్కడ ఉంది. సో ఇక్కడ చూస్తే కంపేర్ దిస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ విత్ స్పెసిఫైడ్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఫర్ ఆర్డర్. ఆర్డర్ కోసం చెక్ చేస్తాము. ఓకే, రిటర్న్స్ నెగిటివ్ ఇంటీజర్, జీరో అండ్ పాజిటివ్ ఇంటీజర్. సో నెగిటివ్ ఇంటీజర్ రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది, జీరోని రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది, అండ్ పాజిటివ్ ఇంటీజర్ని రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది. సో ఏ కేసులో రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది, సో నెగిటివ్ వచ్చింది అంటే లెస్ దెన్, అండ్ జీరో వచ్చిందంటే ఈక్వల్స్ టు ఆర్ గ్రేటర్ దెన్. సో ఇప్పుడు అర్థమైందా ఈ కంపారిటివ్ మెథడ్ ఎలా వర్క్ అవుతుంది. సో లెస్ దెన్, గ్రేటర్ దెన్, ఈక్వల్, ఈ 3 స్టెప్స్ వర్క్ అవుతుంది ఇది. ఓకే, సో ఇది ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఇక్కడ. సో లెస్ దెన్ ఎప్పుడు వస్తుంది, గ్రేటర్ దెన్ ఎప్పుడు వస్తుంది అంటే ఇక్కడ నెగిటివ్ వాల్యూస్ వచ్చింది అంటే లెస్ దెన్, పాజిటివ్ వాల్యూ వచ్చిందంటే గ్రేటర్ దెన్, జీరో వచ్చిందంటే ఈక్వల్. ఓకే, సో ఇది ఆ కంపారిటివ్ మెథడ్ ఇంటర్నల్గా వర్క్ చేస్తుంది. ఇది ఆ కంపారిటివ్ మెథడ్ ఇంటర్నల్గా వర్క్ చేస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో ఐ హోప్ Saddam your answer also it's clear here inside this particular double equal operator as well as comparative method. Comparative method basically it is a advanced method. It will try to return the different types here. But comparative method it will try to check only two values equal or not. ఓకే, సాయి అర్థమైందా, ఇంకేమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉన్నాయా? Okay, so basically you need to read the method description. You'll understand little bit like what exactly the methods will do internally. Okay, so this is one of the important example we are discussing here. Now, so what we can do here, I'm going to write one more condition using this particular same numeric function. Using this particular numeric function, now I'm going to write one more condition. Here I'm going to write here. So how I'm writing it? So now you can see. Here we can make the data type also. Okay, the second parameter, like the second example, now what I'm doing is the parameter now I'm making with the data type here. Now I'm making with the data type. So this is the one way to write the one parameter without the data type, and this is the another important information we can write with the data type here. Okay, so once we define this particular information with the data type, now what I'm doing here, the body I am checking like this. Okay, so whatever the condition we are having, and here if this particular n greater than or equals to 0. Okay, if whatever the value we are providing, if it is n greater than or equals to 0, internally what happens is it will try to return true or false here. Okay, this is another important value I'm providing here. Now you can see if nt1 dot test method, if I'm going to provide something like 100, if I'm going to provide 100, now what we can write here, it is a 100 is not a negative value. Okay, 100 is not negative value. So the statement will print here. And one more condition I'm making here, and nt1 dot test method. So here I'm passing minus 100. Here I'm passing minus 100 here. So now what we can understand here, this minus 100 is negative value. Okay, now you can see the two println statement I'm printing here, both will print here. Now what happening internally? What happening internally? Why we are getting only one statement here? Anything I'm missing? If statement basically it should execute both statement here. 100 is not negative. Why one statement? Hmm? It's magic. So basically, it should execute these two if statements here. So there is no relation to this. Basically, this is also it notes to execute with minus 100 also. Okay, got it. So why it is not executing here? Because this statement A, it is not returning true. This statement it is not returning true. So if I'm going to make not condition, if I'm going to make not condition, now you can see both are getting here. Okay. Why the second one is not executed here? Because we made greater than. Okay, we made greater than. If the value is greater than 0, then only it will return true. Otherwise, this expression will return false here. This is important example we are discussing here. Okay, so greater than and less than, we need to understand very clearly. So this side, if we are having the bigger value, it will return true. And here, this side, if we are having bigger value, it will return true. Okay, so whatever the open side, if we are providing the bigger value, now the expression will return true, otherwise it will return false here. So now what we need to understand here, for first example we discussed 100 greater than or equal to 0. So this is condition is satisfying. Now another one, minus 100 greater than or equals to 0. So minus 100 basically it is not a bigger value compared to this particular 0. So it is a smaller value because we discuss all the example 0, and this is we can write positive values, and here we can write the negative values. So 0 is a middle point here. This is important here. Anything we are writing like minus 1, minus 2, up to something like minus 100. If I'm going to write to minus 100, so these are all the less than we are going to use. Here we'll use the less than condition, and this particular positive numbers will go for the greater than, because these are the bigger value compared to this 0, and these are all the smaller value compared to this particular 0. So this is we need to understand how the greater than and less than is going to work internally. Okay, so we define the one more expression here. This is the lambda information here. So it is expecting one parameter. Now with help of this particular parameter, I'm trying to add one greater than or equals to condition. So here we are trying to add modulo operator. Modulo operator is nothing but we'll try to identify the even number, odd number related expressions here. Okay, but the interface is same, but lambda body we made different. Here we are using the modulo operator. Here we are using the greater than operator. Okay, so this is the way of writing the one of the important example on the lambda related here. Now, what we need to understand here, I'm going to write the another important example called one more example. It is going to take something like a second parameter. So this method only we can write here. Instead of defining one more, I'm trying to comment out this here. Now what I will do, the numeric test, instead of writing the one more interface here only I'm going to provide one more parameter. Now you can see this functional interface, now it is expecting two parameters. Now finally it is trying to return the boolean here. Okay, so we'll go to the same. Where is that? Okay, here We'll go to this particular same here, the same lambda expression. Now I'll copy up to this. Here I'm trying to print this information. And here, how many parameters we need to pass? 2 parameters. Now we can pass any value, n comma a. Okay. And here, now I'm passing this arrow type, like this is the arrow operator we need to pass here. And now I'm trying to add a body. So the body, simply I'm trying to write. So n modulo of this particular year. So n modulo of this particular year equals to 0. Same condition. Now you can see, instead of this particular 2, what I am doing here? Whatever the 2 value, the static value we given, instead of giving this particular 2, now I'm making dynamic value. So n is a dynamic value I'm going to pass, and a is also dynamic value I'm going to pass. So if I'm going to call f nt.test method, now you can give something like 10 comma, here I'm going to give as a 2. Okay, here I'm going to give as a 2. Now finally, what we need to understand here, we can print this particular statement here. So the statement what we can provide here, something like the same number, 10 is even. 10 is even number. Now if I'm trying to run, we are printing the same message here. Whatever the message we are having, the same message we are trying to print here. But another important, now what you need to understand. So let me copy this. Now I'm trying to write, here I'm making 3. If I'm making 3, what happens internally? So the second one will satisfy. Now second one will not satisfy. If you observe, only one statement is printing. Why one statement is printing? Because the another statement, the condition is not satisfying. The line number 29, whatever you are passing, it is not satisfying it. So if I'm going to make not condition, here I'm going to make not even. Okay, not condition I made. Now if I'm trying to run, now you can see both statements are printing. Okay, both statements are printing. Earlier, only one statement. But what we need to understand here, so how we are defining the parameters and how we are writing the method body. So basically, this is the single line of statement we are discussing. So we are not understanding much of this particular lambda here. Okay, we are not understanding much of this particular lambda. But what we need to understand basically, what we need to understand here, how we can write the important example called method body with the multiple lines of code. Okay, so this is, we need to understand how we can write the multiple lines of code inside this particular lambda here. Okay, we'll discuss this particular section. Now observe carefully. Here I'm trying to write n comma a. Now what we can do, you cannot write into n, we can write, and into a we can write. Okay, so if you're trying to write the data type should be available for the both parameters, not for the single parameter. If I'm trying to remove this, now you can see we are getting an error here. Whatever the data type we are providing, it should match with the both data type, or you can remove that. If you are not interested, you can remove this particular parameter. The data type, no need to write. That is one is a optional here. That one is a optional. But if you are interested, you can make in the 2 cases. In 2 cases, we need to make this particular the data type. Now you can see 10 is even and 10 is not even. Both cases we are able to see this particular information here. Okay, this is one of the important example on the lambda. Now the lambda is expecting 2 parameters. Now we are trying to do the same, one of the important the module operator example, and we are checking internally 0. So this is the single line of statement. Now what I will do, I am going to write multiple statements here. Okay, I'm going to write multiple statements. So how we can write the multiple statements as a method body, like a lambda body. So to understand this, I'm going to comment out this. I'm going to use the same numeric test only. Okay, and here instead of this particular boolean, I'm going to make as the int here, and here I'm going to pass only one statement here. Okay, So one parameter I'm passing, int parameter, and internally it is expecting to return the same int here, and the name of the method I'm going to make as a same test here. But what you need to understand here, how we can write lambda body with multiple lines of code. Now what I will do, same thing I am going to copy. This up to here, I'm going to copy this. Okay, now I will copy to this here, and now what I'm doing is I'm going to write the multiple lines. Whenever we are having multiple lines, we are going to write code like this. Okay, we are going to write code like this. Now here it is expecting to return some integer value. So how it is expecting to return? Now you can see, now I'm making int result is equals to 1. Int result is equals to 1. Okay, after this, now what I'm doing it, I'm trying to find out the factorial logic here. So I'm trying to find out the factorial logic here. Now I'm trying to write int I is equals to 1 and I less than or equals to n. Okay, I less than or equals to n and I plus plus. This is important loop I'm making. And here, what I'm doing is, here I'm going to use result is equals to I multiply something like result. I multiply something like result here, and I'm trying to return result. So now you can see how many lines of code we are writing. So this is expecting around 4 lines of code. So earlier we define only a single line. Whenever we are having 4 lines of code here, what we need to understand, the brace is open, the brace is closed. Okay, so it's like the scope of the braces. So the scope of this particular braces we need to open and we need to close. And in between, you can write any number of lines here. Okay, this is, we'll call it as a lambda body with the multiple lines. Now what I will do, here I'm going to call something like a factorial of this particular 5. Factorial of this particular 5. Now how I'm trying to call nt dot test method, I'm going to pass as a 5 here. Whenever I'm trying to pass as a 5, what is the result we are getting? The result we are getting as a 120. How we are getting this particular result as a 120? So this is the factorial logic. 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. Okay, this is the factorial logic we need to identify. But how here it is repeating? So now if you see I value less than or equals to n. N, what is the n we are having? Now I provided as a 5. Okay, this repeat, this particular loop repeat how many times? 5 times. Okay, now you can compare this. It will also available as a 5 times. Getting the point. Now if I'm going to give as a 3, what happens internally? It will repeat 3. 1 into 2 into 3. 1 into 2 into 3. What is the value we are going to get here? Something like we'll get as a 6 here. Okay. So now if you multiply this, the total result will get as a 120. Okay. So this is the way of writing the multiple lines within this particular lambda body. So any questions regarding this particular highlighting point here, because this will call it as a lambda body here. Okay. Sai Vinith నీకు ఏమైనా questions ఉన్నాయా? Okay. So if it is clear, now I am going to stop this. We'll try to continue tomorrow. The same, like how we can continue this particular lambda with help of the multiple lines of code. We'll see the different example, how it is going to work internally. Okay, we'll continue the same example in tomorrow and try to join the morning 7 a.m. session, so that we'll try to catch up the string related information, how it is going to work internally. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow.